The Void's Edge was not merely a prison, it was a declaration, a monument to the Galactic Council's supreme authority, carved into the heart of a dying star, surrounded by gravitational anomalies that would crush any vessel attempting escape. It held the galaxy's most dangerous criminals. For 8,000 cycles, not a single soul had breached its walls, until the humans arrived. Warden Jiktar stood before the observation panel, his 4 eyes narrowing as he studied the latest arrivals. 3 humans, criminals from that upstart species that had only joined the galactic community 2 generations ago. They looked so fragile in their orange containment suits, their soft skin and single pair of eyes making them seem almost primitive compared to the other inmates. Species, human. Crimes, unauthorized salvage operations in restricted space, resisting galactic authority, destruction of council property. The automated system droned. Sentence, 20 cycles in maximum containment. Jiktar dismissed the report with a wave of his manipulator. Humans were rare in the Void's Edge. Most species learned to fear the Council's justice system quickly. But humans, they had a reputation for stubbornness that bordered on stupidity. The first human, a female designated as Captain Maya Torres, was placed in cell block 7. The second, a male engineer named Chen Wei, went to block 12. The third, a young woman called Zara Okonkwo, was assigned to the science wing in block 4. 3 separate blocks. Standard protocol for accomplices. It prevented planning, prevented hope. Jiktar had overseen this prison for 400 cycles. He knew that isolation broke even the strongest spirits. But humans, he would learn, did not break the way other species did. Maya Torres spent her first week mapping the cell block. Not with instruments, those were forbidden, but with her mind. She counted footsteps, measured distances with her arm span, listened to the echo patterns of guard patrols. The Krillian in the adjacent cell watched her with curiosity. "You waste energy, human," the reptilian creature hissed. "There is no escape. The Void's Edge is absolute." Maya smiled, a gesture that showed her teeth. Many species found it disturbing. "Has anyone ever tried?" "Many tried. All failed. All died. Did any of them have humanity's specialty?" The Krillian scales rippled with confusion. "What specialty?" "We're really good at not giving up." In Block 12, Chen Wei had befriended the maintenance drones. It took him 3 days to realize they operated on a simple algorithmic pattern, another 4 to understand their programming language, and 2 more to begin leaving microscopic scratches on the walls. Code that the drones would scan and interpret as maintenance requests. Small requests, a slightly looser vent cover here, a recalibrated energy barrier there, nothing that would trigger alarms. Nothing that seemed intentional. Just tiny imperfections in a perfect system. Zara Okonkwo, meanwhile, had gained access to the prison's educational database, a privilege granted to model prisoners to prevent intellectual degradation. She devoured every file on prison operations, gravitational physics, and stellar mechanics. The Void's Edge was built around a dying star, its energy patterns supposedly making escape impossible. But Zara noticed something. The star's decay was accelerating. The calculations in the prison's files were 800 cycles old. The gravitational fields were shifting, creating microsecond windows of reduced intensity. Microseconds, useless to any species with standard reaction times. But human neurology, evolved from predators who could track fast-moving prey, operated on millisecond precision. It took 6 months. 6 months of Maya earning the trust of guards, learning patrol patterns, identifying the 3-second gap in surveillance during shift changes. 6 months of Chen subtly reprogramming maintenance drones through wall scratches, creating a cascade of minor malfunctions that would align on a specific date. 6 months of Zara calculating, preparing, identifying the exact moment when the star's fluctuation would create a navigable escape window lasting precisely 4.7 seconds. They had never spoken to each other since their imprisonment. They had no communication devices, but they had something else. A shared understanding of human stubbornness and a plan each of them trusted the others would execute perfectly. When the moment came, it was chaos. Maya's guards found their security doors malfunctioning during the shift change. Chen's cell barrier flickered for exactly 3 seconds, enough time for a human to slip through. Not enough for the alarm algorithms to register it as an actual breach. Zara's section experienced a catastrophic failure in environmental controls, triggering an automatic evacuation protocol. They met at Junction Point Gamma, a maintenance corridor that technically didn't exist on official prison maps, but that Chen's drone friends had revealed through their repair routes. 4.7 seconds, Zara said, her fingers flying across a stolen datapad. That's our window. The pods? Maya asked. Sabotaged by our mechanical friends. 3 already, Chen grinned. Told you maintenance drones were underestimated. Warden Juktar's alarm systems exploded with warnings. Impossible, he roared, his voice echoing through the command center. Seal all sections. Deploy all forces. But the humans were already gone. They launched in 3 separate escape pods, timing their departure with Zara's calculations. The gravitational anomalies that had trapped every other escape attempt for 8 millennia, suddenly, for 4.7 seconds, aligned into a navigable corridor. The pods screamed through impossible physics, their hulls groaning under stress that should have atomized them. But human engineering, built by a species that had clawed its way from gravity wells and into space through sheer determination, held. Juktar watched them disappear into the stellar winds, 3 impossible trajectories defying everything he knew about the void's edge. How? He whispered. His aide, a young Tralaxian, checked the reports with trembling appendages. They didn't overpower the system, Warden. They convinced it to fail. Small failures cascading, and they synchronized 3 separate plans without ever communicating. That's not possible. It's not possible for us, Warden. The aide looked up from the screen. But humans, they evolved in groups, hunter packs. They have something they call tactical intuition. They can predict what their allies will do without communication. Juktar slumped in his command chair. For 8,000 cycles, the Void's edge had held, and 3 humans in 6 months had shattered that record. The Council would investigate. Security would be upgraded. Protocols would be rewritten. But across the galaxy, in 100,000 prison cells, human inmates smiled when they heard the news. The message was clear. The galaxy had built its perfect prison, impervious to strength, immune to technology, invulnerable to any known form of assault. But they had never imprisoned a species whose defining trait was looking at the impossible and saying, "Watch me." The Void's edge still stood, but it was no longer absolute. Because humanity had tried,